we're actually bringing out some truths, peel back the layers of all this fluff,
shining the light on this industry as a whole.
Maybe you should stay away from it. Hi everybody, welcome to Real Estate Raw and Uncut. This is episode 67. I'm Byron Lazine, joined by Tim Bray, as always. And it's the Friday show. We had
love the Friday show. Getting ready for the weekend.
You leaked out what you wanted to talk about on Tuesday, which was
the 50% rule in regard to FEMA and real estate.
So FEMA and everybody that's on the shoreline, like locally here in Connecticut, we're on the Connecticut shoreline. A lot of these waterfront homeowners are really aware of this rule, the 50% rule, and what it means to them and the value of their home.
Yeah, and a lot of people, across the country are not aware of what the 50% rule is. So we want to shed a little light on it and hopefully make you guys aware of what this is, and especially if you own a waterfront home or you're thinking about purchasing one.
Yeah, maybe it'll help somebody in terms of what they're going to do with their real estate or
so after,
not do.
That's right. So after Hurricane Sandy and Irene, this thing really came to light.
Yeah.
So in some of these communities, so let's say there was wind damage, fire damage, some kind of structural damage caused by the weather.
Yeah.
And now you're like, wow, I've got some damage to this property. And maybe, let's say it's on the market for $500,000.
Right. And on the water, or just in a flood zone?
In a flood zone. So if it's in a flood zone, 100-year flood, so AEVE, and let's say it's at like 9 feet above the flood zone.
Okay.
So all of a sudden somebody purchases that property that's worth $500,000, and the land value, because it's a great spot, great views, water views, worth maybe $350,000, $400,000.
The land.
The land.
Okay.
So now you're left with this structure
that's worth $100,000.
Deemed to be worth $100,000. The 50% rule says if you improve that property by 50% of the structural value.
So the structural value is 100. So if you improve it by 50,000,
50G. Then
you can do that in a kitchen.
That's right. So all of a sudden you have to comply with FEMA standards.
Okay.
Which says that you have to, think new construction, code, whatnot. So you have to get the property out of the flood zone.
Because you're 9 feet from sea level.
That's right.
So
to comply with FEMA flood, 13.
Right.
So you got to raise that entire property by
4 or 5 feet. Yeah.
So what happens there? And you can't have the utilities that currently are in the basement. You got to get those out of the flood zone too. So you either fill in the basement. Sure. You lose the utility of the basement. So what happens typically when you lose the utility of the basement? It's right around 20%.
Yeah.
That's what we found. So the value goes. So you put those in the attic if you have an attic. Or maybe you've got third floor space that's being used as an apartment, something, whatever. But it's got to...
But you're going to take some space either out of that attic or third floor. So you're going to lose square footage somewhere.
That's right. So in order to insure that property, you're going to have to conform to those standards.
Okay.
So all of a sudden you've raised the property. What if it's retail?
Raise the roof.
What if it's retail? What if it's in a commercial zone? What if you're right on the sidewalk?
You could do one of those,
get to it.
One of those staircases on the sidewalk, the circular staircase.
So this is causing some serious issues across this country.
Yeah. And on the shoreline.
On the shoreline. And, people are kind of scratching their heads saying, okay, I can buy this property for near nothing, but I can't do anything to it because the 50% rule is going to kick in, and then I have to conform, and it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to get them out of the flood zone.
I talk to homeowners, waterfront homeowners and sellers in particular, every single day, and there's so many people coming to me, I've got this beautiful waterfront property or this beautiful waterfront community property that I want to put on the market in Connecticut. Everybody else does too, which is why we're facing these huge gluts of inventory on the market right now where you've got 30, 40, 50, 60 plus waterfront homes in each town that are on the market, and you have very, very few sales actually happening because when the buyers dig deep and they're like, okay, I want to make change, I want to put in a new kitchen, I want to do a new bath, I want to put a new roof on because there hasn't been one in 20 years, and then they find out that the structure is only valued by the town by $100,000, and their $50,000 they're going to run out quick, and now they're talking about jacking it up. What happens? The value of that their offer now
has to be represented.
It's not $500,000 because they're like, I just got myself into a mess.
That's right.
That property's worth $3 now to me. You know, it's worth $300, that $500,000 property, if I'm a buyer.
Yeah, well, also on the other hand, you've got property, it makes you start to wonder, should these properties ever have been built?
Right.
You know, some of them, in some of these locations. I don't know.
When, at the time that they were built, they didn't have to comply to these standards.
Right.
So
we had some pretty massive storms back in the day, though, that changed the dynamics. And you'd think that history would teach you something.
No, never does.
It doesn't. It's cyclical. It keeps on coming. But unfortunately, this one, I believe, is here to stay.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get any easier. I think it's, in fact, probably going to tighten up a bit. And so people have to be really cognizant of the 50% rule, FEMA, insurance, and properties that you purchase. And it makes sense sometimes. Like, look at properties like Mr. Point. You know, they've built, they're up high, they're out of the flood zone. People are going to start looking at the elevation certificates in these flood zones and saying, wow, this one's out of the flood zone by 2 feet. That's a valuable property.
Yeah, and those properties will increase their value over time.
I think so.
As more and more buyers trickle into the market in these waterfront communities and start to see what the problems really are in purchasing waterfront. I mean, we're in an area right now where there's, in this part of the country, where there's no jobs, few buyers. These are second homes, and for somebody to pay an increase on a second home because of FEMA, they might look at a different opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, are we in the right market? Or?
I don't know. We're doing it. We're getting it done.
Cam, you watching this one? So, 50% rule. You guys want more information on that? Please drop us a comment in YouTube or in Facebook, or just send us a message. We'd love to talk more about this topic, and it's one, like you said, it's not going away. Catch us every Friday. Catch me on Instagram at Byron Lazine.
T-Bray777.
You've been crushing the gram. I saw you the past week here.
I told you, that was one of my goals.
That's right.
I had to get on the gram.
That's true. So we're enjoying it. Drop us some comments, please.
Is that like a...
It's like I'm praying but begging type of thing.
You're like Mazoo.
Mazoo. I love Mazoo. Mazoo in Norwich. Check it out. See you next time.